something I'm super passionate about because I feel in this industry, there's a blessing and a curse. It is that you can do whatever you want. You can go about your business however you want. You can handle it however you want. You can manage it. You can lead gen however you want. You do whatever you want. And that's the blessing. Ultimate flexibility. The curse is the same thing. You can do whatever you want. And then you get paralyzed.
We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Fanale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. Again, good morning, everybody. This is Real Estate Talk TGIF, episode 401. It is January 30th, 2026. We started this over 7.5 years ago, and we're real excited to keep it going as long as we can. So here we are with Jeff Bonk, and Jeff is the director of training and agent development at Align. You know, he's done a lot of different things in his real estate career. Founder of the HBB Group, and he had scaled that real estate team to over 100 million in annual sales. Made strategic decisions to merge that organization with Align to expand and impact opportunity and long-term growth. Jeff plays a major role with us at Align. She's focused on all the great stuff that agents need: development, growth, etc. Like I said, he's known for helping agents moving out of chaos and into structure, aligning mindset with daily habits. This isn't theory for Jeff. He's done it. He's broken it. He's rebuilt it. And now he helps a lot others do it for the number one team, mega team in New Jersey, Align. And also they are with the number one team in units in 2025, all over eXp Realty. This is a broadcast to help agents. It is not a broadcast for brands. This is a brand agnostic. We're going to talk about helping agents. Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
Dave, thanks for having me. Anytime I get to talk to you is time well spent in my book. So I appreciate you having me on. It's third time here. It means I get 3 hats, I think. I'm really pumped about the new hat coming in.
Yeah, you get the third one. Yeah. So anyway, I'm not sure the dates. We're going to get those real quick for you, what those dates were. I apologize for not knowing that. So, but you know what? The important part of today is just to talk about how we're going to help agents. And you and I work together every day. We speak a couple of times a week minimum. And it's all about what we can do to help others, which is really what both our goals are in life, right? And the important part is, before we really get started, I do have to ask you one question, which is, what does TGIF stand for?
I have thank God it's Fanale. Come on.
Yeah, a couple of weeks in a row. We got a roll here with people getting it right. Anyway, man, so you got into real estate, and as time went on, you started the HBB Group, right?
Yep.
And there's just so many reasons you did that. I mean, you went from an individual agent, right? That's how you started. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then you formed your own group, and you made a shift, and then you kept shifting as you improved. You got one goal you achieved to another, to another, to another. Tell me about your process of your growth in the real estate business to get me to where you are today.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you for the question you set up. So one thing about me is I get bored very quickly. I do something, I enjoy doing it, I get decent at it, good at it, and then I need a next challenge. I need something next to do, right? I need a new project to work on. So it's really kind of how the evolution of my career has gone. Like, started selling real estate, with Red, obviously. We built a small little partnership, and we were doing really well. And I was like, I want to do something else. I want to build something new. I want to help different people. I like working with clients, but I think working with agents might be fun. So we started building a small team and built a really small, awesome, powerhouse team here in Hoboken. That was a ton of fun, but I was kind of hit at my limit of what I think I could do here in Hoboken with the way that our business operates. I was like, what's the next challenge? And Brett and I started talking. I was like, what if I merged my team into your team and I just played a bigger role in a bigger team and had a bigger swimming pool to play in? So my evolution really just goes I like challenges. I like evolutions. I like the next kind of project. And whenever, I feel a little flat, I look for that next way to make bigger impact and have a bigger swimming pool to play in, so I can just be connected with more awesome people day to day and provide any value, coaching, training, leadership that I can that, you know, that can help anybody move their business forward. So it's really what drives my day to day, is thinking about like, how can I just be a bigger piece of the industry's growth and advancement? And I just feel like that's the thing that will pay dividends in the end and give me fun the whole way, and be fun to me the whole way of doing it.
I think that's really important, is having fun and helping as many people. But one of the things that's been really important to you is this word that I've been using a lot in some of my social content, is basically a word called structure, right? So there's a lot of things that, you know, we like to train agents with. We like to get them out there and make calls. We like to get them out there to get involved in the business, to get more comfortable doing things. But we've seen, and I had it in a call earlier today, talking about, you know, if you're just getting into the business and you want to put down, you need a prospect for 2-3 hours. That's a great plan. But sometimes it's not realistic because you're not used to it. So you have to build in structure. How do you ease in a structure? And what do you mean when we talk structure for your real estate business? What do you mean by that?
I love that question. So I think, to give a little context on it, I'm a big believer in coaching. So I've been coaching with people my entire career, all different coaching companies. I've had great coaches, I've had terrible coaches. And I realized a pattern about 5 or 6 years ago where I really started to hate, not enjoy at all, like coaching that was like, hey, what's going on? What do you need help with right now? And I was like, well, this is a struggle in my business. They're like, cool, here's a solution, maybe. Try this and go. In 2 weeks, you come back, like, what's your new problem? And I was like, I feel like we're playing whack-a-mole here. Like, there's no progress, no like kind of like proactive progress. And that really was a light bulb moment for me, for both who I coach with, but how I want to coach and how I want to show up to people that I help try to improve their business. So instead of like, you know, motivation is great, but if you have motivation and you don't know what to do, like what's the good of it? Knowing what to do is good, but like if you know what to do, but you don't have a way to like make sure it gets done consistently, and a framework and a structure to do it within, then it's just going to be like one-off results. So The way I think about it is like, I want to be able to tell people exactly what they need to do, right? Give them that guidance, give them like, you're here in this bucket of production, or you're in this level of experience. Here's what we know will work for you. Here's how you're going to get that done regularly. Here's the way that you're going to like put it in your calendar and show up every day to it and track it here. And we'll track some stuff for you, and you need to manually input it like clear as day. And then we're going to show up every day, every week, twice a week, whatever the cadence schedule is, to support that. And then we're going to try to motivate you with mindset stuff too, right? We're going to try to give you that juice to get you going too. So it's like a multi-layered approach where I think those individual things are cool and good on their own, but they're a little like, it's one of those 1 + 1 = 3 kind of situations, right? Like this is good, but you put them together, it's rocket fuel. So it's combining all those pieces and doing them in a way. And it's, you know, been a learning evolution for me along the way to really have, you know, this concept that's evolved for me. And we continue to see it work more and more and evolve it as it does.
Yeah, so I want to hit on your analogy or example of coaching and the coaches that we've had. There's a lot of coaches out there, a lot of great ones. Look, in the past 10 years, the coaching business has gone nuts, right? But as you said, I'm going to be really blunt. There's a lot of them out there that are like a bad mechanic, right? And that's okay. That didn't work. If that doesn't work, come back. We'll do something with the carburetor. If that doesn't work, we'll change the spark plug. It's just like, and God forgive me, with a lot of physicians out there as well. Yeah. Okay, let's try this medication. If that doesn't work, let me know in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We'll try something else.
Right.
Okay, so then we'll just change the dosage, or maybe we'll change the type of gas you put in your car.
That's right.
And it's all, to me, it's why you can't put the words good and mechanic in the same sentence. And, you know, physicians are physicians. I'm not going to go there, but it's the same freaking thing. But the great part about what you've done and what we do is we're able to see what you're doing. And it's not, we're not looking at the symptom, like you don't have enough business, or you don't, or you're only getting 3 deals or 3 rentals instead of 3 listings. We can see what you're doing, and we can actually fix the one part that is there. And mechanics and physicians don't always do that. And that's what we've been able to do, and you've been able to do, and implement at a real high level, Jeff, of knowing exactly what we're doing. We call those metrics. A lot of people say, oh yeah, I know, I got to make the call, so on and so forth. Talk more to that what we're talking about here.
Yeah, so I mean, your mechanic and your physician analogy is perfect, because it's the difference between being proactive and reactive is what we were really talking about. And you host a meeting every Friday that's called planning and prep for the organization. which is the exact opposite of what you were frustrated with talking about physicians and mechanics. Planning and prep is proactive. Like fixing when problems happen is reactive. So that's why the coaching environment where you show up with a problem and they fix it is great. It can be helpful, but it's not going to proactively move you. It's not like going to the mechanic for a tune-up or going there for proactive things to keep things moving direction. It's not like going to a holistic doctor or someone who's going to help you refine, your health and wellness so you don't have a problem. That's the analogy of what I like, right? Like we're looking at tune-ups. We're not looking for problems. We're not looking for people that we're here to support them. But what we want to make sure is that after the support's done, the triage is done. Now let's plan, prep, and set up a proactive plan. Because I think a lot of people in this industry get stuck in that messy middle. Call it like, 5 to 8 transactions, 3 to 6 million in production, because they get a little busy, they get some skills, they get a little bit of lead gen going, they understand a niche or two, and then they get reactive. They just wake up and they react to what's in their inbox, and they react to people coming in and asking for help and referrals or leads that come in, and they never spend any time getting back to proactive to level up to the next level. And that's what, we're rolling out tiers of production, right? We're trying to help agents figure out what bucket they're in and then give them training that's specific to that bucket so they don't get stuck in that bucket. Because I've seen far too many agents over the last 12 years or 13 years almost to be doing this, that people just get stuck and they don't know what to do to get unstuck, right? It's hard to figure out from inside the room. Sometimes you need outside perspective. So that's really kind of the theory and the philosophy that we try to build everything off is proactive, leveling up, growth. And like how we operate here when we're looking for people that want to join the team. If people want to come in and just kind of be flat and stagnant in their business, we're not always the greatest fit for them. We really are looking for people who want to grow and want to level up, because that's the way we really operate the entire ecosystem.
So if we're able to look at things and look at agents in a certain way, right? There have to be certain expectations set for not only their schedule, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, but not only their schedule, but they have to put all the pieces together. Talk to me about the pieces of really what the expectations of a real estate agent should be and what they should expect from themselves.
Yeah, I think there's 4 different places you need to spend your time when you're talking about like putting the pieces together. One is you need to spend time learning. If you're not learning, you're not going to be able to grow. If you're not sharpening your skill sets, you're not going to be able to improve and level up. The second place is you need to spend time with your mindset. Mindset is everything. We were talking about this on a call earlier today, Dave. Like people were just sharing idea after idea after idea of like how the mindset hacks, for lack of a better word, have changed their life. People remembering things I heard 6 years ago that's helped them fix their mindset to get into the next thing, which is action, right? So you got to level up your skills. You got to get your mindset primed to get into and then get into action. You've got to take action. I think a lot of times people get stuck on these two a little bit too much, and it's got to be a good blend, right? Learn it, get motivated, get into action. And then the last one, which is the one where I think the fall off happens more than anything, is the review, reflect, and re-strategize, right? You have to then, after doing the action, just don't do it blindly without tracking it, without analyzing it, without having an outside set of eyes on it to help you figure out, is it working? Where are you getting stuck? Where's your pain points? What should I put more energy into? What should I put less energy into? So you can re-strategize, get proactive, and then start the cycle all over again. Right. So that's really the pieces that come together to kind of put together when you ask, what should they be focusing? What pieces? Those are the 4 core pillars that I kind of think about as we're helping people cycle through that.
Yeah, it's so very, very important because there's, you talked about the middle and the messy middle, and there's some guys out there in our network that talk about the messy middle and getting stuck at that number, right? And a lot of times it's forgetting what worked or what didn't work and getting started. So when we're getting started, Jeff, is there a process that an agent should go through to start building? Because the process that you should go through probably is a process you should go through if you're stuck too, when you reach a certain level, right? And those levels can be anything. It could be 3 deals to 10, or it could be 10 to 20, et cetera. And we've seen agents in our universe do this. So are there stages that agents need to go through and be prepared to learn and to know how, what, and why to do them?
100%. I think each stage is totally different. And we were talking about this yesterday on a panel that we were doing at one of our events. Ashley Krasinski, massive agent. She was talking about going from 23 million to 30 million, right? So you're talking about like new agents or more experienced agents. So very good agent, great business to go to a bigger business. And what she realized is like the things that she was doing, the way she was like getting involved in deals and the way she was like getting into the weeds on things was going to get her stuck there. She needed to let go of certain things, focus on new things for that next level. So it's a lot of self-awareness, like at whatever level you're at. If you're at a level, if you're a brand new agent, you just got to get into action. You got to do something so you can steer a moving car. Pick a lane, get into action, figure out what's working, so then you can steer that car towards it, away from it, and get moving. The nuances are less important. But as you start growing, as you start getting results, as you start refining your business, now you got to look like, where are those points that I need to let go of? What are the new things I need to focus on? It's a great book. I forget the author. What got you here won't get you there. And it's a fantastic concept to think about for entrepreneurship, because I think we get married to and we get a little attached to these things that work for us. And it's the exact things that keep us from going to the next level, right? So yeah, looking at stages, looking at getting stuck or unstuck, and not even like unstuck in a bad way. You could be stuck at a good place, but you still want to grow. Right. You gotta look at, it doesn't have to be a huge shift, but there's something that likely needs to shift if you're stuck.
So one of the things you said, there's a book that talks about what got you there won't get you here, or vice versa. Won't get you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that and disagree with it at the same time. Let me tell you why. One of the things that I've learned over the past was that when we're talking about this agent, Ashley, who is, super top agent, one that everybody should look up, Ashley Krasinski. Look her up, watch her, what she does, and learn from her. She was stuck at a number of 36, 38 in the 30s and wanted to go further. And she decided what she was doing, she couldn't handle because of the amount of work that had to do. And she had to use the L word. She had to use leverage to get to the next spot, to get to the next place, which she was able to accomplish in 2025 with Align, right? But the other thing, Jeff, is there's a lot of agents out there, and just bear with me here and let me know what you think about this. A lot of agents get to a certain point where there's 10, 15 deals, right? And they start changing things. They said, okay, well, I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to go do that, and that's going to get me more business. Don't you think it makes sense for them to remember what got them to where they were? So, because what happens is they get stuck because they started something new and stopped what they were doing. Like if it was SOI, or it was calling for sale by owners, or whatever it was, and it worked really well, then it's, you know what, I'm going to go to something else. Because I think what got you to that point can get you further. What do you think about that?
So that goes back to something I mentioned a few minutes ago, self-awareness. So this is not a blanket statement that what got you here won't get you there. It's you need to be in tune with yourself and likely have some outside eyes. I have outside eyes on my business and what I'm doing all the time. Multiple coaches, multiple mentors that still I bounce things off to make sure I don't have blind spots. So there is in this industry, especially Dave, to your point, a massive, massive early pivot to like this concept of what got you here won't get you there. You need to make sure you're actually tapped out. You're actually doing something. You've maxed out. You got all the juice. Because we start everyone off with at least 3 lead pillars, right? You want you work in SOI, likely team leads, and then let's find one more lead pillar. Until we get all the juice out of them, we're not adding a fourth. Until we leverage one out, we're not adding a fourth, right? So there is nuance and moments for this, and you have to be aware of that and make sure you have the right environment, the right coach, the right trainer, mentor to kind of help you see that as well, because you're spot on. A lot of people abandon ship way too early on stuff that's working. And they
that was my point. You clarified it completely.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. It just, I mean, you just have to know exactly where you're at. And I think it has a lot to do with wanting to grow, but it also has a lot to do with lack of guidance and support as well, to really, like you said, 3 pillars, until you can leverage one out, don't go to a fourth, makes a lot of sense. How important to you, Jeff, is, once you're getting started and getting into different things, I believe that the word leverage can be used for an awful lot of things, especially you mentioned plan and prep before, your schedule, your calendar, but how important is using something like that? There's a lot of people that say, if it isn't on my calendar, it doesn't get done, right? Yeah. Talk to me about the importance of that.
Yeah. So I think there's like a default, and then there's like, you get to know yourself better. So if you don't have a rhythm, if you don't have good self-discipline, if you're just getting started in a new venture that is a little obscure and you don't know what to do, you don't know how to do it, like time blocking, calendar blocking is like the only thing that I would really suggest someone really works with, right? That gets into. But I think once you get into motion and you kind of figure out your flow and you kind of figure out, you're going to get to know yourself a little bit better. There's a lot of customization that I think can also work into like a planning and prep type of situation, which is, I think, speaks to why you have a meeting like that every Friday, because it's not always just, you can't just throw one training out and say, hey, put it in your calendar. And then that's like the end of planning and prep. It's like, you have different life cycles. You think differently. Your brain operates differently. Like my wife and I, our brains couldn't operate more differently. If we tried to systemize the way she works on planning and getting into and growing and executing things, and me, it's a fight every single time, because but we both are pretty productive people, right? So like, there is a level of you got to kind of find your own ways, and that's why it's important to do regularly, and that's why we talk about having meetings where we're sitting down and really helping people one-on-one or in a small group session to figure out, all right, why is there a block? What is the problem, right? Like we're talking about growth and like figuring out structure and all that, but the first thing is really like self-control, like self-discipline, self-management. That's all that matters at the end of the day, right? If you can't get yourself to do the things you know you have to do, that's where you got to start. So it's the most important, critical thing in my mind in any kind of growth.
One of the things I always talk about is your calendar and your schedule should evolve. And whether it evolves with, the time you put into things and the intricacies that you use, like my recent session on planning and prep, I did not really talk about what they had to plan on their schedule, what they had to put in their schedule. My schedule was basically that I said that I need to fire my calendar, right? So I'm a month into this new year and I saw what I was doing and set up that my calendar had to evolve. So I fired it. And the whole session was all about rebuilding my calendar to what I believe is going to work. And it was about simplification through evolution of knowing what goes on. And that is all about what your life should be, what your calendar should be, but what your business should be as well. Talk to me about the evolution of a business and how that works with scheduling and family and all that, how you've done it, because you've got 2 young children, married. You've got to schedule all that stuff. So there's a lot of juggling that you have to do. Talk to me about that and your business too, because that's important.
I think the first thing to just think about is like, it's not easy. Like you have to understand, like there's going to be juggling. And if you want to have a big life, if you want to do a lot of things, if you want to be involved in a lot of different ventures, like that's kind of comes along with the territory. So if you don't like that, it's kind of inherent to being an entrepreneur and being, in business. The other thing you said the word simplification. And I think like even a complex life can still be simplified if you plan on it and you really focus on simplification. I think a lot of times people think things need to be more complex because things are, the more complex they are, the more effective they'll be, or the more complex they are, the more, evolved they are, or things like that.
Right.
If you read, like Science of Scaling is a great new book by Benjamin Hardy that came out that I've read twice already. And it really talks about, it's just a very robust book, but the backbone of it is like, if you don't know what like your most important thing is and focused on how to set up everything else to kind of support that, your business is doomed to fail. If you're trying to do too many things and focus on too many, the word priorities is like an oxymoron. It's priority. Like the priorities mean by default, there is no priority. So I think like spending time getting to know yourself and understanding what your real priority is in life, and what are you trying to solve for, and then trying to run everything else through that filter is something that needs to be done as you said, things evolve, which sounds like, you said you fired your calendar. Obviously your priority might have came priorities, got a little dysfunction over like the way your calendar was showing up. So you had to have that evolution. It was time for an evolution. It was time to sit down, refocus. And I, do have a whole training that I do about how to figure that out, how to get to the essence of what you really want, and then start building your habits, your daily plans, and your daily routines off of that to make sure it all supports that. Because I think so many people climb a ladder, and they climb that ladder. They get good at climbing that ladder. They become an effective ladder climber. They're fast as heck up that ladder. And then all of a sudden they turn back 5-10 years later, like, shit, this ladder was leaning against the wrong building. And I see it all the time. And they're not where they want to be. They're like, shit, I wanted to be on that, but I climbed friggin' fast, but shit, it's against the wrong building. So I think that's like having those moments like that you just had as, a leader in the industry and someone that's like does so many positive things currently and in your career resume, you're still doing that. And that speaks volumes to like the importance of having those evolving evolution and kind of reset moments.
Yeah, and it's so important to be able to build your business. Thank you, Amy. It's so important to be able to build your business and to move forward that way, and be able to go through. Now, we mentioned earlier that you are the, and saying on the bottom, director of training and agent development at Align. And that's really important for the evolution of this team. And being a member of being on it for a couple of years, I understand how important this is for you and what it's going to be able to do. So tell me about this position, or actually screw the position. What are you going to do, man? How's that going to work? And how are you going to help everybody here? Because this is very, very cool. And I am so excited about this for you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's something I'm super passionate about because I feel in this industry, there's a blessing and a curse. It is that you can do whatever you want. You can go about your business however you want. You can handle it however you want. You can manage it. You can lead gen however you want. You do whatever you want. And that's the blessing. Ultimate flexibility. The curse is the same thing. You can do whatever you want. And then you get paralyzed. You get paralyzed by options, paralyzed by different, like you start something, it's not working, you start something else. Or like you don't even know what thing to start on, or you start on too many things all at the same time.
Right.
So when I think about training, and like the really more important word to me in that title is agent development, because training supports the agent development. If there's no agent development, the training is just useless. It's just fun. It's just motivational. It makes you feel good for a few minutes, maybe. But if you're not building it into a process that helps actual people develop and create growth in their career and then byproduct their lives, then you're not doing it properly, in my opinion. So I think a lot of things show up in that way. Here's a good idea. Here's a good skill set. The way that this ecosystem is unfolding, what we're building and continuing to build is tracks, plans, like progressions, where you're going to know exactly where you are, where you want to go, and the exact things that you need to focus on. Some are going to be generic and like, we know you need to go from here to here. This is the stuff. And some is going to be customized, right? That's where the customization, getting to know people, having the right support, the right training, the right coaching to be able to tailor, like take those 10 options, distill it down to one, and then put an actual development plan on it that then gets supported by training, right? Training is going to always be there to support. You need to be always learning. I talked about that one of the first things I said. But if you don't have a development plan that you're working on while you're going through those trainings, you're just going to haphazard trainings, it's completely sporadic, and growth is going to be way less efficient than if you have a development plan on the backbone. So that's really like, I had to just explain it in a sentence or two. It's making sure the development plan is the focus versus the training, and then using the training to help the development plan.
So you mentioned earlier that tiers, agent tiers, et cetera, and people, honestly, it's easy to see that people doing a couple of deals a year, need different something than someone's doing 5 million or 10 million. I heard someone say at an event yesterday that, they went down to 5 million. There's a lot of people that love to be at 5 million, right?
Right.
A lot of people,
Yeah.
right? And she said, went back up this past year, she said, I'm never going to be that $5 million agent again. That's a drive. That's a drive that people have, right? So the question really is based on tiers, 1 to 5, 5 to 10. What's different there, Jeff? What's different in there for people to go and then use that magic word leverage later on? How do the tiers different? You don't have to go into everything in particular, but talk to me about the differentiation. Agents can really understand what they might need from what we have to see today.
Absolutely. And like, just to put like high level stamps on each one, right? Like going from 0 to 5, you got to get into action. You just got to get busy. You don't have to be perfecting it. You just have to literally, I mean, Dave, you've been doing this a long time. If people get busy, they get into action, they just keep consistent. Like 5 million is kind of inevitable, right? Like 5 to 10 deals a year, depending on your price point. Like you just have to be willing to put the work in. Once you get past 5 million, now like you got to start thinking about your conversion. You got to start thinking about your skill sets. You got to start thinking about refining the system, because just taking action is not going to cut it anymore. You need to actually be able to like increase your conversion rates, increase your skills working with clients, and go everything, all the skills that kind of go into making your business more efficient. After 10 is where we start getting to that leverage word, right? We start getting into both niches and leverage. You're going to get busy enough that you're going to need to start letting go of a few things, leveraging a few pieces of technology and people support and system support. And also, like, if you want to, the riches are in the niches is something I like to say at that level, right? you're kind of, if you want to evolve your business past 10 and 15, right? If we're talking about still growing that volume and progressing a career, being everything to everybody is really hard at that stage. You need to start figuring out an attraction-based business and the best way to do that is by focusing on niches. But if you start trying to focus on niches on your first level, 0 to 5 million in production, you're not even going to be able to service the niche, the business that comes through the niche that you built, right? So that's why there's really like general buckets that everything's customizable. Everything gets a little bit more attention than just saying like, you're doing this much business, you need to do these things, generally speaking. And then let's take a look at you as a human and make sure this makes sense for you and match it, give you a customized plan, right? So, but generally speaking, that's like the differences I see. It's like get into action, refine your skills, and then start talking about leverage and niche after.
Yeah, I want to accentuate the process you just talked about and the methodology. And your methodology really had nothing to do with, okay, so you're doing this, you're making this amount of calls, you got to go next level, you got to do this. No, it's basically, it has to be customizable to you and where you're at. I love the way you put that. So, all right, so we've talked about all this putting together. And one of the things I see and have seen forever is the number one disease that really strikes new agents and agents starting to develop. And it's a disease in a real estate agent life. And there is a cure, but it's difficult. It's called getting ready to get ready, right? Which is really, I mean, and a lot of times for me, I start hearing an agent talk to me about what they're getting ready to do. And I have to really hold back because I need to listen to everything they're saying to see where they're at. So I know what my cure is, and I think you just stated the cure. So just give me your thought process on that one.
I mean, I learned, so first of all, I'm a recovering get ready kind of guy. I like thinking about, right? I like analyzing things. I like making plans and all this stuff. And there's a movie, I forget the movie, they're like on the Vegas Strip, and like I think it's Ashton Kutcher and somebody else in one female role, if it's Cameron Diaz maybe. And he's like, we have a plan. We can't hang out because we have a plan to make a plan for our. He's like, you have a plan to make a plan. And like, I don't know, that like idea always stuck with me, right? That's kind of in the visual. So I get it. I understand it. I understand the desire to do that. But I learned a long time ago that the person that takes more action wins. They're going to take more. They're going to get more opportunities. They're going to get more swings. Wayne Gretzky said it best: you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Right? Babe Ruth or whoever's on the wall behind me, they only hit 30% of the pitches thrown to them. They struck out or made it out. The other 70%, and they're Hall of Famers for it.
Yep.
So taking more action is what drives everything in my mind.
Yeah.
What was the end of the question again? Because I had one more thought and I lost it. But
getting ready to get ready. How do you get out of it? What's the cure?
So ultimately, it's getting into action and shortening time between idea and implementation. I forget who said that. Kyle Dan, one of the guys that we mastermind with all the time. Shortening the time. Shep Black might say it. Shortening the time. All guys, by the way, who've been on this podcast, and I can't believe I'm on this podcast, because the names I'm rattling off that you've had is just like completely out of my league. So I take a second to appreciate that and say how awesome you are. But yeah, the shortening the time between idea and implementation is that key. Like, get your butt into action. That's really what matters when you're trying to evolve at all.
So, you know, talk about getting ready to get ready, and your calendar can be the same thing. Your calendar can be the same issue. And for me, I talk about the evolution of the calendar. I talk about it all the time. I talk about it because it's the evolution of your business, right? Your business has to evolve, and what that means is you're getting more education, you're learning more, you're absorbing more of what has to be done by actually doing it, and by actually listening to you and listening to other greats in this business. But the one thing that is really difficult, I think, aside the getting ready to get ready, can be the big D word, which is distractions, right? We have a lot of distractions in our lives, and there's never more distractions. And I'm going to use the word noise, right? So we talked about this the other day, and you talked about this in our promo, right? So your one of your goals is to make an impact on agents in a noisy real estate environment. Talk to me about the noise and how we get through that noise, which is just, a good segue from where we just were.
Yeah, 100%. I think the world's getting noisier and noisier every day by, just technology, Instagram, YouTube, all the different things getting shot at you. I mean, it used to be the only way they can advertise to you is send you stuff in the mail, right? Or maybe some TV commercials. Now it feels like everywhere you look, there's an advertisement in every place, especially on the phone, right? So the clarity is how you combat that. getting clear.
Love it.
That, and I think the value that we provide as coaches, trainers, mentors, and what you should be looking for in your coaches and mentors and trainers, and this kind of goes back to my original point about some of the coaching companies that aggravated me, is clarity. Like sitting down at the beginning and figuring out, where do I want to go? What do I need to do to get there? And I find when someone has a path in front of them that they can be confident will work, they're way more willing to take action and stop getting ready to get ready. Right? The reason why I think so many people spend so much time planning and replanning and thinking about it and talking about it, number one is you get a dopamine hit from just talking about what you want to do. And I think that if you're not aware of that, that can keep you stuck on that hamster wheel. I feel like a long time ago, 15 years ago, probably when I really discovered that was a categorical shift for me, because I was like, oh, I'm enjoying this dopamine. Now I'm aware of it. Now I know, oh shit, I'm getting this good feeling. It's because I'm kind of tricking myself that I'm actually doing work when I'm not. So like awareness of that was key. Like don't let yourself be fooled by the idea of getting into action and getting busy. But you really, like, if you're not confident in your plan, this is what we try to distill to all of the agents we work with. Like the plan will work. You can be confident. There are people who've done it before. It's not going to feel like it the first few weeks, first few months. We talked about yesterday with our rookie of the year who did 13 million in production in his first year, brand new license. The valley of despair. The first 2-3 months, I talk about every brand new agent. I'm going to go, you're going to get into this business. We're going to tell you what to do. You're going to start doing it. You're going to be excited. And then you're going to be like, nothing's working. What the heck is going on 2-3 weeks in? And then you're going to get a couple deals that might come together and then they're going to fall apart. And then you're going to be 2 months in and still nothing may be working. You might get lucky, something closes, like we'll see what happens. Like I'm not saying it can't happen, but generally speaking, this is the pattern we see. And then if you push through, you make that next push, the next week, the next couple of days, you're going to all of a sudden see a waterfall of results come. And being aware of it and knowing that that's the true pattern that actually happens, it actually shows up. It's called growth. It's called evolvement. That allows you to stay in action and not go back to the drawing board of, oh, let me go figure out a new plan. Let me go where it's comfortable and safe and talk about like what I want to do or what I'm planning on doing versus actually keep doing it, which is being in the trenches. Like doing it is being on the battlefield in the trenches, and it's not easy, especially when the results aren't there yet. So having that clarity and confidence that you know what you need to do and you know that it will work. I have confidence this will work because I have the right guidance, I have the right mentors, I have the right model. That's what really I think you can provide to people in a training and coaching environment that can help them get into action rather than being stuck by analysis paralysis.
Yeah, that's another good phrase, analysis paralysis. But let's stick with the noise for a few minutes. Mm-hmm. It's all out there, and God forbid you open an ad on social media and you're getting every ad having to do with that, yeah. Right? And the only way to get rid of that is, if you guys want the trick to have that stop happening, open up another ad for something else, and that will replace it. So just know that that's how it works. Believe me, I know. I am the king of squirrels. You know,
Me too, man. I hear you.
I get so distracted all the time. Which is I tell people that's why I can't work at home, because, there's distractions in my house, lots of them. One's called the window, the other's called the refrigerator. So, I mean, you have to be really careful with the distractions. All right, man. So we talked about getting through the noise. We talked about building now. Okay. So you used my new favorite word for the year, and I am stealing it as my word for the year, clarity.
Yes.
Right. So I've had discussions with coaches and other people I've had on this broadcast over the past 6 to 8 weeks, talking about the most important things. I look at commitment being a huge word. I look at discipline being a huge word. And I have been rebuffed that said that clarity is the most important word that we have to look at and understand, knowing your goals, knowing where you're going to go so you can commit and have the discipline. Matthew Ferry, in his book, Creating Sales Velocity, says that discipline creates freedom, not the other way around.
Yes.
I completely and totally believe in that. But we want to take the noise that we get and we want to build from there. So the question is, to have first of all, to get through the noise, you need clarity, as you just said. How do we scale that? How do we build that to having this great business where, you know what, we get up in the morning, we know what the hell we're going to do. We're happy. We're doing great. How do we get that to the scale? And I'm not talking about scaling to 50, 60, 70 deals. Scaling for some could be 5 to 15. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I think what you said was very interesting, that your words was like commitment and discipline, but you swapped it out for clarity. is maybe the most important thing. And I'd argue, like, I don't know if one's more important than the other. I think it's right thing. I'm a big believer in right things, right order. I think if you don't have clarity, then commitment is not the most important thing. It is clarity. And if you have clarity, but you don't have commitment, you don't need more clarity, you need more commitment. Right. So I think it's about doing the right things in the right order and having an idea of why you're doing things and making sure that there's actual purpose that drives you towards a life you want to build behind it. And goes back to my kind of analogy of climbing the wrong ladder, becoming an awesome ladder climber, but you didn't have the clarity that you were on the right building yet. So to me, you need to stop and think for a second. But I think sometimes we need, we're kind of talking out both sides of my mouth, because we just said planning to plan to get ready is wrong. No, absolutely. But planning, that doesn't make all of planning wrong, right? It's about finding the right ratio. It's about making sure you're planning for the right appropriate amount of time till you have a plan in place and then going to execute. So it's the same thing. And one thing I wanted to hit on too is motivation is free. You get motivation by starting a new plan, right? Because everyone's motivated in the beginning. New diet, new workout plan, new business routine, new whatever it is. Discipline is what costs money. It costs energy. It costs like commitment and time and struggle. Right? That's where the real difference is made. Everyone can make a plan. Everyone can at least get themselves motivated when they feel excited about it. 99% of people fall off when the motivation's gone and don't kick into commitment, discipline mode, which is what I think you were saying as well a little bit there. So, yep. Go ahead.
And I think one thing that everybody hears, I've used this expression so many freaking times, and I just realized in our conversation how wrong it is. And you're going to say, Dave, how? Failing to plan is planning to fail. And here's one thing missing. Okay, you can plan as much as you want, but if you don't follow that freaking plan, you're an idiot and you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
So failing to plan is planning to fail. Failing to follow your plan, why even bother?
Right. Absolutely.
Right. Why even bother? So, all right, man. So a lot of agents think that, okay, we've talked about all these things, right? We got the plan. We've got that. We know what our metrics should be. We know what we have to improve on. And a lot of people think that it's all about effort. And they also use this word called hustle, right? So is it more hustle is going to fix what needs to be done, or is it something else? Have we already talked about it? I believe we have. So, but I hear the hustle part, the grit, the grind, the whole thing. I don't think those are the right words. I think there's other things that we need to do.
I agree. And I think it's very dependent on what stage of the career of a career you're in or what stage of a growth cycle you're in, where I think grit, hustle, determination, just showing up is super important in the front end. But if you stay in that box and you just keep grinding forever and you don't evolve to taking more time for reflection, for time for curating what's happening, time for doing postmortems on a year, on a quarter, on a plan, on whatever the time cycle is, then you're going to be stuck in a place where grind and hustle becomes forever, right? So like I see a lot of agents who've been successful. Our guy Brett Sikora is one of them. He put us onto another guy you mentioned, Matthew Ferry, and taking like massive success and then being able to put the right mindset around it so you're able to make that success actually enjoyable and not be stuck and focused on the wrong things is a massive clarity piece that I've gotten over the years, right? Because I think a lot of people stay just grind. Tim Ferriss talks about this too. He talks about like he was a big entrepreneur, Silicon Valley guy, all that stuff. And then the idea of meditating and kind of mindfulness started coming into his life. And the big fear was like, I'm going to lose my edge. I'm going to lose my drive and desire, my grind if I start getting all, pieced out and like happy and blissful and stuff. And what you find is actually the opposite happens. Like you get calm enough that you can then see things properly and operate and make sure you're continuing to reassess and assess and stay very busy and very effective, very disciplined in the things that continue to matter rather than beating your head against the wall, right? So I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, self-awareness and having the ability to understand where you are today, getting a plan and then executing and having regular check-ins, regular maintenance reviews with yourself or with a coach or somebody, that you work with. That's the key to me is like right thing, right order, not just doing like one blanket thing because this is the right way, having some nuance, learning, evolving, growing, depending on how your career is going and what kind of stage of your growth cycle that you're in, and being able to use that to course correct over time, but stay forward motion.
So, Jeff, in your position, Director of Training Agent Development, we want to help agents grow their businesses, but there's a lot of agents that'll come to you that are doing things that, they're really, they needed to stop doing or start training on doing different trainings or learning something new. It's a matter of not only training someone to do more, it's actually training through some either bad habits or some things that they're missing because as you said, as we started, it's an evolution. And we talked about the physician and the mechanic before. You're going to make calls. We know if you're making calls and you're not getting any appointments, you have a conversion issue. We have to talk about that and all on up the ladder, right? So is there a daily behavior that you see the more successful agents doing that other agents are not doing? And what is that?
Yep. It's self-improvement. It's working on themselves. Because if you're not aligned, if you're not positively moving in the right direction, if you're not working on the person that you are and only working on the things that you're doing, the core never changes. So I think about it this way. I think about like, it's not the things you have to do that you have to force yourself to do that you get to figure it out, get clarity and do, and like keep creating resistance in that thing, but you're doing it. So you're getting results, but there's still resistance. If you can change who you are and you can make yourself a more disciplined person, a more accountable person, a person that looks at things more positively, a person that plans a little bit and then gets into action, you can like change your internal work. And that's what everyone I know that's successful at any high level acknowledges that fact. And if they force their way to be successful without working on themselves, they're usually successful and miserable, which to me is not successful. Just, they could be financially successful, but personally miserable. So I think they missed the mark. If you work on yourself, you work on changing who you are so that you naturally evolve into a person that does the things they need to do and lives the way they need to live and interacts with people from abundance, right? And like not scarcity and like living that way, that just brings a business along for the ride that evolves with you as a person. And that's ultimate success. That's when people want to be in business with you. People want to be around you. You have people gravitating to you rather than running away from you, right? So people who acknowledge that and realize that and work on themselves most, that's the key common trait I see through anybody, from my perspective, that's had massive success in my ecosystem, my world.
I think, as we come up on time here, just a couple of things that I want to add to you and everything else, and the ability to be able to understand the other person and jumping out of your shoes into theirs and trying to hear and listen. And this is a skill that you have, a talent that you have to really listen and want to jump in and help. And it's there's a lot of things that happen in our businesses, a lot of things, because look, a lot of us suck at communication. A lot of us are really good at it. And we have to break through that. And that works for our clients as well. And that's where you've been able to grow. And it's one thing that I've learned from you as time went on. As we finish this broadcast, Jeff, I have one question for you and one other thing. And the most important question I have for you that is always out there for our day-to-day interactions, you and me, is how do I help you grow your business and do what you want to accomplish in your personal life as well as at a line?
You just keep showing up the way you're showing up, Dave. I mean, honestly, I wish I had something I could tell you more earth-shattering, but you want to help people. And I think that's all that really matters in this world. Like it's the mark that you can leave, the impression that you can leave, the one page you can be in somebody's book, right? I don't want to dominate the book. I don't want to be the person that everything, I don't want to act like the ego. That's not the way I want to just be like, could I have helped a little bit along the way? And Dave, that's who you are. Like the one thing you've said to me more than anything else in this world, known you 5, 6, 8 years, whatever it's been. How can I help? How can I help? Like just keep asking that question. That is the genesis of who you are, and you ask it at the end of every one of your podcasts. So it's that pervasive in you, right? That's your vibe. So honestly, I think I said it to you the last 2 times too. Keep doing what the heck you're doing, man. Keep this podcast going. Keep helping people. Keep meeting people where they're at. Do it together. Do it forever, man. Like that's the name of the game.
Jeff, I want to thank you so much for being on. It really means a lot to me, and everything I do, it comes from here, and I know it does from you. But of course, we started this. You started this with a comment, and I have to finish it. So you get the limited edition.
Yes. Yes, that's what I want to see.
Limited edition, and this
I don't have that one yet.
will be hand delivered to you at Killington, Vermont.
Let's go. Oh, I can't wait to hang out.
So, anybody, I want to thank everybody for coming on today, for watching today. Next week, we've got George Castro IV, another local agent coming on who is just crushing it. I believe he's 20 or 21 years old. He's just doing such a great job. And you're going to see how this young man has built a business with the right support. And you know what? It's going to be a great broadcast. Can't wait to see George next week. He's a great guy. Jeff, thank you so much for being on. Please stay on as we go off. Everybody, God bless you all. Hope January was great. If not, let's make February even better. This is January 30th, 2026. See you next week on number 402 with George.